Maxwell Richardson, a billionaire tech CEO, froze in place as he watched a waitress kneel down and zip up his disabled son's pants. The simple act of kindness from someone who had no idea who he was changed everything. In that moment, he made a decision that would transform this struggling waitress's life forever. Before we start the story, comment below from which country are you watching, and don't forget to subscribe. The busy diner buzzed with the clatter of plates and morning chatter. Emily, a 24-year-old waitress with dark circles under her eyes, balanced 3 plates on her arm while checking her watch. Double shift again. Her apartment rent was due in 3 days, and her student loan payment notification had just popped up on her phone for the 5th time this week. "Order up for table 7, the cook shouted over the sizzling grill. Emily nodded and hurried toward the corner booth where a man in an expensive suit sat with a teenage boy in a wheelchair. She had seated them 15 minutes ago, noticing how the man's Rolex probably cost more than her yearly salary. The boy had cerebral palsy. She recognized the signs from her time volunteering at a children's hospital before college bills forced her to drop out of nursing school. "Here's your breakfast, sir," Emily said, placing the plates carefully on the table. "Anything else I can get for you?" The man barely looked up from his phone. "No, we're fine." As Emily turned to leave, she noticed the boy struggling. His pants zipper had come undone, and his limited motor control made it impossible for him to fix it himself. He looked embarrassed, glancing anxiously at his father who remained absorbed in his business calls. Without hesitation, Emily knelt beside the wheelchair. "Hey there, would you like some help with that?" she whispered kindly. The boy nodded gratefully. With gentle dignity, Emily carefully zipped his pants and patted his hand. "There you go. No problem at all." What Emily didn't know was that the boy's father, Maxwell Richardson, CEO of Richardson Technologies and worth over $3 billion, had seen everything. He'd been pretending to be on his phone while actually observing how the staff treated his son Tyler when they thought no one important was watching. "Thank you," Tyler said softly to Emily. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Enjoy your breakfast," she replied with a warm smile before hurrying off to her other tables. Maxwell put his phone down, deeply moved by what he'd witnessed. In the 3 years since his wife's death, he'd seen countless people either ignore Tyler or treat him with awkward pity. Emily's natural kindness without expectation of reward struck him profoundly. As Emily returned with coffee refills, Maxwell spoke up. "Excuse me, how long have you worked here?" "About 3 years, sir," Emily answered, wondering if she'd done something wrong. "Do you enjoy it?" Emily hesitated. "It pays the bills. Or tries to, anyway." "I noticed your nursing school keychain," Maxwell said, pointing to her keys peeking from her apron pocket. Emily touched them self-consciously. "Oh, that was the dream. Had to drop out 2 years ago when tuition went up." Before Maxwell could respond, a loud crash came from across the restaurant. A man was shouting at another waitress, red-faced with anger. "I said over easy. These eggs are hard. Are you stupid or just incompetent?" the man yelled, having knocked his plate to the floor deliberately. The waitress, a girl even younger than Emily, stood frozen in fear as the customer continued his tirade. The manager appeared, apologizing profusely to the angry man while the young waitress fought back tears. Emily instinctively moved toward her colleague, but Maxwell stood first. "Excuse me," he said, his voice commanding the room's attention as he approached the scene. "Is there a problem here?" The angry customer scoffed. "Yeah, the service in this dump is pathetic." Maxwell's expression remained calm. "I see. And does that give you the right to destroy property and verbally abuse the staff?" "Who the hell are you?" the man demanded. "Someone who believes basic human decency isn't optional," Maxwell replied. "I watched you knock that plate off the table deliberately. That young woman didn't cook your food, but she's the one you're humiliating." The manager intervened nervously. "Mr. Richardson, please, we'll handle this." The angry customer's eyes widened at the name. Everyone in town knew Richardson Technologies. Maxwell Richardson didn't finish. "No, I don't believe you will handle this, since I've been coming here for weeks and have witnessed this gentleman's behavior before. Your staff deserves better." Maxwell turned to the young waitress. "Miss, did he knock the plate off intentionally?" She hesitated, glancing at her manager before nodding slowly. "That's property damage," Maxwell said simply, then turned to the manager. "And if you don't stand up for your employees against this kind of treatment, you'll find yourself with a workplace lawsuit that could shut this place down." The angry customer grabbed his jacket. "This is ridiculous. I'm never coming back here." "That sounds like the first sensible thing you've said today," Maxwell replied. After the man stormed out, Maxwell returned to his table where Tyler was watching with wide eyes. Emily stood nearby, stunned by what had transpired. "I apologize for the interruption," Maxwell said to his son. Then to Emily, "Could I speak with you before we leave?" 30 minutes later, as her shift ended, Emily approached Maxwell and Tyler, who had waited patiently. "You wanted to talk to me, sir?" Maxwell nodded. "I'm Maxwell Richardson. This is my son Tyler." "Nice to officially meet you both," Emily replied, suddenly nervous. "What you did earlier for my son, it meant a lot to both of us." Emily shook her head. "It was nothing really." "No, it wasn't nothing. It was human decency, offered freely without expectation. Too rare these days." Maxwell handed her a business card. "I have a proposition for you. Richardson Technologies is launching a new medical assistance division, focusing on developing technologies for people with disabilities like Tyler's." Emily looked at the card, confused. "We need people who understand both the medical and human aspects of care. I'd like to offer you a position as a patient advocate consultant, with a salary that would allow you to complete your nursing degree while working part-time with us." Emily's mouth fell open. I don't understand. You don't even know me." "I know what matters," Maxwell said simply. "I know you treated my son with dignity when you thought no one was looking. I know you were ready to defend your colleague when that man was berating her. Character reveals itself in small moments, Emily." Tyler smiled up at her. "Please say yes. Dad's company makes cool stuff, but they need people who actually get it." Emily felt tears threatening. "This is overwhelming." "Sleep on it," Maxwell suggested, writing something on the back of the card. "This is my personal number. Call me tomorrow with your decision." When Emily got home to her tiny apartment that night, she sat on her bed staring at the card. Was this real? Did a chance encounter really just change the trajectory of her entire life? The next day, Emily called the number. To her surprise, Maxwell answered himself. "I accept," she said simply. "But I have conditions." "I'm listening," Maxwell replied. "I want a formal harassment policy implemented at the diner, with consequences for customers who abuse staff. And I want scholarships established for service workers seeking education, not just for me." There was a pause, then Maxwell chuckled. "I was right about you. When can you start?" 6 months later, Emily stood on a stage beside Maxwell and Tyler at the grand opening of the Richardson Center for Adaptive Technologies. She was halfway through completing her nursing degree, working 20 hours a week as the lead patient advocate for their new medical division. The diner where they met had been transformed. Maxwell had bought it, not to fire anyone, but to establish it as a training ground for a new initiative employing people with disabilities. The manager who had failed to protect his staff had been replaced with a former service worker who understood the importance of workplace dignity. Most importantly, the Richardson Foundation had established a $50 million scholarship fund for service industry workers seeking higher education, with Emily as its director. "Sometimes the greatest change comes from the smallest moments of kindness," Maxwell said to the crowd gathered for the opening. "One morning, I watched a waitress show my son a simple dignity that others had denied him. That moment revealed not just her character, but the gaps in our society, how we treat disabled individuals, service workers, and each other." Emily stepped to the microphone. 6 months ago, I was a waitress struggling to pay rent, with abandoned dreams and dwindling hope. Today, I'm evidence that when we recognize the humanity in each other, regardless of status or circumstance, transformation is possible, not just for individuals but for communities. Tyler, sitting proudly in his wheelchair, now customized with technology developed by their new center, pressed a button that cut the ceremonial ribbon with a robotic arm he could control with slight head movements. The crowd erupted in applause. Later that evening, as the celebration continued, Emily found a quiet moment with Maxwell and Tyler. "I still can't believe how much has changed," she admitted. "I can," Tyler said with a grin. "Dad always says people show who they really are when they think the world isn't watching." Maxwell nodded. "And some people, like you, Emily, reveal the best of humanity in those unguarded moments." Emily smiled, thinking of how a simple act of kindness, helping a boy with his pants zipper, had cascaded into a movement that was changing hundreds of lives. "The real change," she said thoughtfully, "isn't just in my life or even in the technologies we're developing. It's in showing people that dignity isn't a luxury, it's a right, whether you're serving tables or running a corporation." Maxwell placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "Tyler and I lost his mother 3 years ago. Since then we've had wealth but not purpose. You helped us find that, Emily." As the evening wound down, Emily watched Tyler demonstrating his new adaptive technology to a group of amazed children with similar disabilities. Their faces lit with possibility, the same feeling she now carried every day. From a simple act of kindness in a busy diner to a movement that championed dignity for all, Emily realized that sometimes the smallest moments contain the seeds of the greatest transformations. All it takes is someone to notice, someone to care, and someone brave enough to water those seeds until they grow into something that changes the world. The Richardson Center would go on to revolutionize adaptive technologies. The scholarship fund would eventually support thousands of service workers in achieving their educational dreams, and Emily would complete her nursing degree with honors before heading the patient advocacy division of Richardson Technologies. But more important than any of these accomplishments was the ripple effect of dignity and respect that spread outward from that single moment in a diner, when a waitress knelt down to help a boy with his pants zipper, unaware that her simple kindness would transform countless lives, including her own.